G'day, guys. I've stuffed up the intro already. Had a place card picture, but welcome to the Detour Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Jones. We're off to a shaky one. We're back again to recap all the action from an exciting Stage 6. I'm joined, as always, by four-time national road champion from Australia, Johnny Trevorrow, the voice of cycling, Phil Liggett. And fellas, Mark Cavendish has already got a record at the Tour de France. It's finally happened, and he shattered his old record, and that is, of course, 64 hugs post-finish. I think the record before that was about 51. He was on great form, and we're going to have a special guest today, guys, because I did get some feedback, and we encourage feedback on the show, you know, good or bad. And the old man, the emu, wasn't happy with John's insights on Harry Sweeney. It was very clear that John didn't really know much about his history and all the information around that. It was surprising. I thought John, had a lot of knowledge of the sport, particularly the Aussie contingent that were at the tour.
You are full of crap, Dan Jones. Your old man actually said to me that he felt that you cut me off when I was about to talk about it. So that's the truth.
Yes, quite right.
About Harry.
What he did say is I threw you under the bus because I never told you we were going to talk about it beforehand. So I never gave you a heads up to do some research. But what I've had to do, I've had to reach far and wide. We need some real good expert analysis. And I tell you right now, if you haven't been on the Lanterne Rouge YouTube channel, get on there. Because now I don't have to stay up and watch it live. I can jump on the next day, look at the analysis. And I've reached out. I've got the man himself, the host of the Lanterne Rouge podcast. He's joined us. Mate, welcome. Thanks for joining the Detour Podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on board.
Thanks for having me on. It's a privilege for me to be speaking to so many legends of Australian cycling and British cycling and cycling globally. So thanks for having me on.
Great. Patrick, it's fantastic to have you on. And I'll say, Patrick, because Dan's introduced you and didn't even say your name. So,
we discussed off air, we're going to have this mystique. Do we say his name's Patrick or just keep it as the Lanterne Rouge? And
it's not a secret. You can literally look, you type in Lanterne Rouge on and link on LinkedIn it comes up straight away with my real name. So it's fine.
Well, I love anyone by the name of Patrick, as you know, fellas. And chapeau again. Oh, wrong photo. That was from Happier Days of Patrick Lefevre there. And he's done a great job with Cavendish. But Phil, how was the reaction to Cav winning his second stage, and is all the angles now, can he get the record of 35 wins at the Tour de France? Because he can't sit on 34. As you said, he's going to get done on a countback.
That's right. And, he's won on the Champs-Élysées 4 times in a row. So if he could win there again, that could be the 35th stage win if he continues like he is. Don't forget, this weekend coming up, we're into the Alps, and he's got to get through those mountains. The weather forecast is not good, might be thunderstorms, etc. Where Patrick is in Andorra, we've got a stage down there which is pretty hilly, and into the Pyrenees. So he's got to battle through now. But it looks to me as though his form actually is about as good as it's ever been, and he mentally is very, very strong. So the odds are in favour of him getting this record now. I really think. I wouldn't have said this 4 days ago, but now, and in fairness, no Caleb Ewan, who was, I think, sprinting better than he's ever sprinted. So it's unfair to say he would have if Cav hadn't, but he's not here. That's the point. So Cav's job that little bit easier to succeed, I think.
Now, there was a bit of controversy if you looked at the final sprint, and that's what I really loved on your podcast, Patrick, was you gave a really good analysis of the final sprint there. Do you think that Cav deviated from his line, and should have there been any sort of ramifications?
Well, he clearly did deviate from his lane, but that's not enough to get relegated. And we've seen, like, Daryl Impey in Andalusia, he deviated, he chopped Rob Stannard's front wheel and didn't get any sanctions. So there's no recent precedent. It's really inconsistent getting relegated. And so I don't really like when they choose the biggest event to then draw a line in the sand, like Niels Eckhoff in the World Championships drafting that car. That sort of stuff was pretty common. And then they're like, World Champs looks bad, we're going to do that. But yeah, it'd be a brave commissaire, I think, to have relegated Cavendish there. I think it would have been unfair to him based on what's happened recently, even though it is technically a breach of the rules and Merlier was nearly crashed.
What do you reckon, Iffy?
Yeah, it didn't affect the result. In that it was Merlier that he cut across. He did give him a good one. I'll give you that. I don't think it was actually intentional. He just dived through a gap and then tried to get rid of the other side. Merlier almost fell over his wheel. And Philipson, it was Philipson who had his hand up there. He wasn't actually complaining with the hand up. He was just frustrated that he'd been rolled. So they didn't put any protest in. So no, I wasn't too upset with it.
Phil, I've got a question for you. Do you think Cavendish would have been able to have the success he's had so far if he was, say, riding for Cofidis or whatever? How important has this lead-out train been for him?
Yeah, it's not just the lead-out train. He kind of fell out with Dimension Data towards the end, and he openly said he disliked Dougie Ryder, you know, but he's he talks on his heart, on his sleeve, and I don't believe half of what he says in that hate campaign, but he was... Until he got over back to Patrick Lefevre, he was in a bad place. Once he got settled there again, all the mates came around him. They all know him. And this is a big hug here for Julien Alaphilippe. Julien Alaphilippe is a real friend of Mark Cavendish. And you can tell by the way Julien does the early pacemaking to get Mark up there and then hands over to the pilot fish to lead him out for the line. They are so close. And Julien will always try to keep Mark on a level plane. So yeah, I think if he hadn't gone back to training, no, he would not have refound these legs. And he owes a great debt of thanks to Patrick Lefevre. Yes, he's a controversial director sportif and team owner, but I'll tell you, he is also an outspoken man, and Cav likes that. So I think, yeah, gone back to the Koenig, he wouldn't be doing this race today. Well, that's the conclusion, I guess. He wouldn't be in the show anyway. Yeah.
Couldn't agree with you more, Phil. Great insights. What do you think, John?
Your mate Patrick. Yes. Well, you know, it's good and bad. I said good people can make bad mistakes, and bad people can make good mistakes. So there you go. Whichever way.
Well, you know, we're all guilty of saying what we think, John. You are, I am, and you say the things because of what we feel. But at the end of the day, Patrick and Mark are very close friends.
They're close. But I've got to tell you what I loved about yesterday's stage. I mean, we've been watching the trains and all they do, but when you've got Julien Alaphilippe, full bore going through the kilometre to go with the Koenig boys on the wheel, and then you've got the race leader, Mathieu van der Poel, coming up the other side. I saw him got back. He had to try and get the guys on his wheel, which he did, and then he roared down the right-hand side and challenged them. That is brilliant. And we get the world champion leading out one train and the race yellow jersey bang down the other side. It doesn't get much better than that.
It was a great sprint to call. I got pretty excited. It was a perfect sprint.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick, with your expert analysis, do you think Mark Cavendish could have won any stages without Quick-Step and their train?
Yeah, I think so, because the first one he won wasn't really down to the train at all. He didn't have Mercury leading him out. He surfed the wheels like he did historically. He got onto Philipson's wheel at the right time. And, yeah, he seemed to have that. You just find the right space and the timing. Like yesterday, he didn't really have Mercury drop him off perfectly. He helped, but he said in the post-race interview, I needed to be in the draft for, just another 75 metres. He came off Merkov's wheel, went on to Philipson's wheel, and Merlier got that draft. So yes, I think he could have done it. I mean, whether he could have done it on another team or not, I'm not sure about that. But he's definitely doing it also without the train. Although the intermediates, Merkov is definitely helping him a lot there. But yeah, he's also had a perfect confluence of circumstances with going back to first Jakobsen's crash last year. So that's Quick-Step's. He's a better sprinter than Cavendish before he crashed. Bennett, then the knee issues. Alpecin winning a stage with Merlier and then deciding to not sprint with the best sprinter in the race, Merlier, and then Ewan crashing out. So many different things have come together for Cavendish. And he is probably, second best sprinter in this race after Merlier.
It really does feel like the stars are aligning for England, particularly with world sport. We've got a comment now. Pushkar says, "Hey, Phil, did you enjoy England's win over Germany and is coming home? Is England just up and about at the moment?"
I don't know. It's been a long time coming, that win. The last time we won was in 1966, but finally got one on them. And we're now the hot favourites to win the Euros. We'll see what happens when they face up against the Ukraine. That'll be a rough and tumble game on Saturday. We have a good moments in sport these days. We really do. When we're no longer the underdogs, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to a reasonably successful games, although you've got to get a big enthusiasm going for the games just now because, you know, nobody's talking about the Olympics like it was in the old days just yet. And as you know, I'm working for Channel 7, so I'm going to cheer the Aussies.
Yeah, good stuff. You just change your jerseys whenever you want, mate. We'll take you on board. We've got a few more quick comments I'll run through. Ian Thomas, great to see the Lanterne Rouge. Maureen Brown says, love Cav, love Latour. Ian Thomas says, this potential Cav super fairy tale is getting ridiculous. All power to him, but it must suck to be another sprinter, even a winning one right now. Is this, Patrick, a bit like mind games as well? You know, when you're seeing tweets from riders that are running third and, you know, they're clearly happy that Cav's winning races, it's sort of, he's got the advantage from a mind game perspective.
I think Philipsen knows that Cavendish is quicker than him. Cavendish flogged him in Tour of Turkey. That was Cav's first win. That was the B where he started this momentum at Tour of Turkey, a dot pro race that didn't have much competition. But Philipsen was there and Cav beat him like 5 times. And I think Philipsen knows. I mean, the deviation discussion aside, Cav was way quicker yesterday. Didn't change the result. But yeah, I think Sagan is quicker than Merlier. Merlier, I just don't understand, to be honest. I don't understand what Alpes and Phoenix are doing. I know they're a pro-continental team. They've got all these days in yellow, 2 stages already. So, of course, you know, it's gravy, but still it's Tour de France stages and you're leading out with your quickest guy. So,
What do you think, Gibby?
Well, I agree with your analysis on the way Cav is surfing the wheels completely, and I think he would be winning anyway, no matter who he was with. A bit like Ronnie McEwen at his best, but I don't think that Merlier is actually going any better, that much better than Phillips at the moment. I think if it was the other way, reversing around, I think Cav's the quickest bike rider in this bike race at the moment. I think he's going quicker than Merlier.
Oh yeah.
And just the confidence, we've talked about this before, and, you know, the effect of the yellow jersey, also wearing the green jersey, Phil, must give you that confidence looking down and just going, geez, I've won 2 stages, like I am up and about, and that's it.
Absolutely. I mean, his first ambition was, well, he never had an ambition, but he got the green jersey and he was just happy to ride the time trial in it. But now he's going to have to start thinking and watching because he could win the green jersey when he gets to Paris. And what a tour that would be. But he's taking it day by day. I think Cav just does what he does best, and he tries to succeed when he has to, which is in the sprints. Otherwise, you won't see much of him over the next few days because of the nature of the course. Even today's stage, it's not only the longest stage for 20 years, it's also very hilly towards the end. There's an 80% top out on the last climb of the day. Yeah. And that's why they put, well, it's not quite the last climb. The second category climb there, as they go over the top, they get the bonus points as well. So Cav's not going to, he's going to be in the stalls having a look from behind for the rest of the day today. I think he'll stay up front for that sprint, and it's pretty much odds on he'll probably win that sprint too, and then he'll take the rest of the day off.
Yeah, exactly what he'll do. Look, I honestly think that Cav is going to have trouble getting to Paris because he hasn't really prepared for this Tour de France properly. He didn't even know he was going to be in it. And he's got great form, but I think he's going to have a little bit of trouble making the time cut on a couple of those monster days. Mont Ventoux, 2 climbs on Mont Ventoux. I think he's going to really struggle that day. But let's wait and see.
I think, Dan, if you bring up Stage 8's profile, if you've got it.
Hang on, mate. That would require preparation. If you bear with me, I reckon I'll work out a way to do it. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, mate.
So there's not many stages that actually have a climb out the gate, like sometimes the Giro does, which suits Cavs. Like today's stage, for example, he's still got 120 Ks of flat to be in the bunch. But Stage 8 is a tricky one for him to climb out of the neutral zone. If I'm Bora Hansgrohe and maybe Alpecin, if they think Philipsen's climbing okay, or Bike Exchange with Matthews, so obviously he'll get over that climb, or Colbrelli and Bahrain. I try to put pressure on Cavendish on Stage 8 straight away, drop him on that early climb, because we haven't seen his climbing yet, and it's not been good this year. Andalusia he abandoned because he said it was too hard, too hilly, and then Greipel won the next day, and Lefebvre had a few things to say about him in the media. So yeah, something like Stage 8 where you try and get him off the back straight away is where you can OTL. And Mont Ventoux even has like 100 Ks of flat at the start. But yeah, I agree. that him making it to Paris is not a certainty yet, but it's not the worst tour for him.
Yeah. Is there any other stages you want to have a look at while I've got this cycling tips screen up? Because, mate, I got them all. I can flick through. You know, there you got stage 9. That's filthy. But is there any ones that you really think, you know?
8 and 9 to me look two of his toughest, because you know you got your Cat 2 only 19k down the road, and with a HC in the middle. That is a very, very tough day, and the GC boys will be really going for it. So I reckon that could be his toughest challenge, actually, stage 9.
All right, we're done with the profiles. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. If he makes it the first rest day, he should be okay. Even the Andorran stages, like the Henry de Grange on stage 15 is like, that's a highway, and it's like 5%. I know it goes to 2,400 meters, but it's not the nastiest climb ever.
That's that one.
Stage 15, yeah. And he's got some flat beforehand, you know, for 80 Ks.
It's true. I think Andorra had more money when they built the roads in Andorra going uphill, because they're far nicer than the rest of the Pyrenees. They're very rocky boulevards, in fact.
But definitely.
Quite as hard, although they're long and they have a nice steady grade on them. Yeah.
And they do great octopus.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're talking.
There was a famous story where we were covering the tour. When was it, Johnny? About 12 years ago. And we went out for dinner, and we had this chef, and he came out at midnight, and we asked for just lamb. And we literally got a 2-kilogram lamb roast each that was raw in the middle. And we had octopus entree, and he brought out 3 bowls. It's like he, you know, scoured the lake and been fishing for about 8 hours. But anyway, it's amazing. Hey, Phil, what I want to ask you is, what is happening with Cav is breaking the mold with what you see with sprinters. You don't often see sprinters go through the pinnacle of their career, taper off a little bit with results, and then come back. You know, it doesn't happen. Like guys like Valverde, you know, when you're a mountain goat, you know, strip the weight, you know, keep your training going, and, you know, we've seen that more often. But this is different areas for sprinters. I mean, can you ever recall someone having this sort of comeback before at the tour?
Well, normally, no, you go gently downhill as your twitch fibers leave you. I remember when I called him over the line yesterday, I said, welcome to the new legs on an old man, because that's exactly what I thought of. He was sprinting like a young kid, but his age is what it is, you know, in the middle of 30s. And I think that he's turned the table around. With Cav, it's a mental situation. Physically, he's always there, basically, but mentally he gets very depressed at times. And he's admitted he suffers from mental depressions. You've got to keep him in the right place. And that's why Peter, his wife, is so perfect for him. We had a camera in the house when he won the first stage, and she had all the kids watching the telly, and one kid had his World Championship jersey on as well. And then they slowly built it up. She said, first of all, I think he's going to win. But she was referring to Brent de Moura, because he was just in front. And then he goes, that's Cav at the front coming through. I think Cav's going to win. And then the kids started screaming. And Peter always calls Cav the boy. The boy's in trouble again. The boy's done this. She's so good for Cav. It is unbelievable how she keeps him straight.
You know what's interesting is, remember just before the tour that Cav was saying, I don't feel comfortable being the leader. My contract doesn't support being a leader at the tour. Now that he's won 2 stages, and you think of teams with bonuses, he could have written in his contract at the start of the year, all right, I want a juicy bonus for the green jersey for stage wins at the tour. And Lefebvre would have gone, mate, you can put whatever figure you want.
Don't forget, at the start of the year, all he wanted was a contract.
Yeah.
I'll take it, because his love of the sport supersedes any thoughts of the money in the sport. He's got to race. He just loves his bike racing and the people around him. So he, you know, that rumour that he started before the tour. First of all, it's you journalists talking. I'm not selected for the tour, and now you're telling me I'm not going to ride the tour for the money I'm on and stuff like that. These things just come into his head when he's giving the conversation. He hasn't pre-planned them, and all of a sudden he is riding the tour. And I'd like to know if Lefebvre did offer him any more money. But
I reckon they did. There was a bit of a delay. There was a few days delay, and then suddenly he's in the team.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all very suspicious of Patrick, and Patrick's a real canny guy. Well, don't forget he is Belgian. And I live there.
But Cav was using his leverage. Cav was like, I'm not going to win two Tour de France stages on the minimum. So.
Exactly.
And he's right.
Well,
he's riding like a guy that does have a juicy bonus structure for stage wins. I mean, you know, if it was 150K every stage, I mean, as you said, he doesn't need the money. Doesn't matter.
These guys spend money. Athletes aren't exactly known for being fiscally prudent. I think I wouldn't assume anyone doesn't need the money.
Yeah, that's right. Now, looking at stage 7, it does smell of a breakaway. And we look at the results of the Giro. In the first, 12 stages, we had so many first-time winners. Breaks were getting to the line. Hasn't obviously happened at the Tour so far. Patrick, what are your thoughts on today's stage?
I think it's a difficult one for teams like Bike Exchange and Bahrain, who've probably got, for sure they can, if it's a slower pace in the group, they can get over those climbs with Matthews and Colbrelli, and then they'll be quickest at the finish. I think those guys, even Matthews could probably beat Sagan at this finish, and they'll drop Cavendish, obviously. But the problem is, if you pace all day, pace the break, you could be setting up Alaphilippe to attack on that Cat 2. It's steep, I think, as Phil said, like 18% pinch, narrow. So yeah, I think if I was Bike Exchange, I wouldn't pace all day, to be honest. I think you said Matt might be coming on.
Matty messaged and said he'll be on it in 10 minutes. They're just doing a team meeting, so we can ask.
But it's for Quick Step or Van der Poel. If Van der Poel can survive that climb in the group, he'd probably be the favourite at the finish. And extend his lead in the yellow jersey. Alaphilippe, if he wants to go for GC, he's got the perfect team for it. They didn't really bring a high mountain team at all, but like Asgren, Cataneo, Dries Stevenens, these are guys who are useful in sort of those 3K, 5% climbs, and Dries Stevenens will be good on Signal du Champ. He's the guy that set him up on stage 1 when he increased the pace. So I'd be expecting Alaphilippe to try and get those bonus seconds there.
How much does the distance play into the hands of the breakaway, the fact that it is so far today's stage, Phil?
Well, after yesterday, I had no idea what Greg Van Avermaet was doing yesterday, apart from braining himself for today's stage, because there was never going to be a prize for him. I think the guys saved their energy yesterday, basically, as best they could. This will be quite a doer stage. First of all, Roglic and Pogacar, by design, will be at the head of the race. And so the opportunity for anybody else to get away today, I think, will be very slim. You might snatch it on the run into the finish, but that's about it, because these boys, the way they race the stage races is they control from the front and hope that it works out. And I don't think at the moment there's anybody in the same room as Tadej. I think he's the boy that's going to gradually move clear in this Tour de France this year. He's looking good. We'll see. But I agree with you, Patrick. It's a great day for Alaphilippe, possibly. What about Yates? I don't know how Yates got the strength to maybe get away.
Mate, I'm getting message from mates going, Yates with the money symbol, they all want a tip. So they're smelling a victory.
I don't think a breakaway will win today. And a break will go. A break will go. They'll get 3 minutes or whatever. They're not letting him go far at the moment. But we're going to see the GC boys just flexing their muscles today. And I think Pogacar is going to take a bit of beating today. And I think it'll be too hard for guys like Sagan and Michael Matthews. I think the GC boys will actually, up that Cat 2, really give it a bash, and it'll be race on. Yatesy will, of course, will be with those guys, but I don't think he'll be given enough time to be able to get up the road today.
No, quite agree.
Okay.
We want to tip Bauke Mollema. He looked better in the Tour so far. Could get in the break. Stage Hunter, not so great in the Giro, but he's like 250 to 1. He won Trofeo Lagueglia this year. Similar, not as long, but the parcours is similar with sort of 3K 8% climbs, similar to Signal du Champ. So Mollema. But yeah, I think if I'm UAE, I just let the break go and take the yellow jersey. I wouldn't chase. Their team is the weakest. Pogacar's so strong, but the team's the problem. And yeah, I just let the break go and wouldn't be wanting to get into yellow too early. He said he doesn't care if he's in yellow, but I mean, Jumbo-Visma are a bit banged up. They've lost Hersink, sort of he's good in the medium mountains, and Tony Martin's banged up. So I'm not sure Jumbo-Visma will be taking it on. And what's the condition of Roglic? Do they really want to put him under pressure? Yes, he had a good TT, but maybe they want to wait for the third week. And then Ineos, I think, are the team that really should try a raid here. We saw in Liège, they attacked early. First team to really take it up was Geoghegan Hart. They nearly dropped a lot of people. I think they put Alaphilippe under pressure. They then attacked with Carapaz, used strength in numbers. And this is, similar length to Liège, similar climbs. So Ineos got the team to try something, and they need to, because Carapaz is going to lose more time in that last TT.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will be Ineos, one of the strong teams today. I don't think UAE will be trying to do anything at all. And as you say, Pogačar really doesn't want the yellow jersey now. But what I think it'll explode on that cat too, and that's when he will just show his strength, because he's easily the best bike rider in this bike race at the moment.
Now, John, this will get you excited from old Jimbo. Could today be a day for Chavez to get up the road and take yellow? I doubt UAE will want the jersey so early, but would want to give it to another rider with a strong team to control the race for a week or so.
No.
Don't think.
No. The break's not going to get given enough time today. It just they'll get 3 minutes or so, and then they'll start racing in the last half of this bike race. And yeah, I doubt that. Cav's not really so worried about that intermediate sprint. He'll just want to beat the other sprinters. So if a break's up the road, Quick Step are going to try and contain that. They'll just sprint for whether it be 4th, 5th, or 10th place. They won't care.
Well,
Chavez needs to lose 10 minutes today.
Matt White has joined us, but he's on his BlackBerry, and that worries me because all I'm seeing is a black screen at the moment. Can you hear us, Whitey?
I can hear you. Wait 1 sec, Jonesy. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
BlackBerry's working.
Hey, BlackBerry always works, mate. Always works. Just overheat sometimes,
Yeah, that's it. As long as you still got those buttons you can feel. That's the main thing, mate.
I still have.
Hey, we were just talking. We had a viewer comment about the chances of Esteban Chavez going up the road and taking yellow. Is that the clear instruction in the meeting today, mate?
No, it is not, strangely enough. Today probably wouldn't be the day to try that. We've got about 150k of flat roads before we even get to the climb. So, no, today's not a day for a kamikaze move in the break for the climbers, no.
Chavez can win stage 9, in Catalunya. It's similar to Catalunya. If he's far enough back on GC, when he attacked, Ineos didn't care. He can win that stage for sure to Catalunya, to Tinya.
Now, Whitey, just as an introduction, we've sourced the best cycling guru, the Lanterne Rouge, Patrick himself. So if you ever need some tactical insights, and he knows all the teams, knows their strengths, weaknesses, we've got your man, mate, because if his cycling knowledge was rough as guts, we tried to get some insights on Harry Sweeney and we got Donuts. So, yeah, we've bumped it up, mate.
mate, I watch Patrick's YouTube channel, mate. Mate, I know a fair bit, but I also value the opinions of others. Other people are looking things at a different way than we are, and it's all part of the research. It's always good to hear other people's opinions of different riders, styles of racing, and he's got a very informative YouTube channel.
Well, there you go, mate.
No, thanks, mate. It's good to hear. Good to hear I'm not talking nonsense constantly.
Great sign.
You leave that for Dan.
Oh, hang on, John.
Oh, getting your own back, are we?
You got any questions, John, for Whitey?
Of course, Whitey. I'm really curious about today because I just got a feeling that the GC boys will have a little flex their muscles when it gets to that Cat 2 with only 20-odd K to go.
Yeah, I think just purely because the style that Philippe and Van der Poel race, I think both those guys will be pretty isolated by the time we get to the Cat 2. And knowing how erratic and exciting Van der Poel races, when he's got no teammates, usually the best form of defence is attack. So I'd expect that the teams who are riding for the stage win, we could highly likely be one of them. we'll get attacked on the Cat 2, and that's when our climbers are going to have to go with those guys, because it's always better to be on the front foot, and especially it's a 250k stage. Summer is here, and I think after the week we've had, it's there's going to be a lot of people will feel the pinch, and the GC guys will move when they have to, and when Alaphilippe and Van der Poel move, which I would expect, it will force other reactions.
Do you think, Matty, that Jonas Vingegaard, who is a bloody good climber, could end up being the GC man for Jumbo if when he gets down the track? Is there a possibility, or is it all with Roglic?
Oh, I think they'll want to keep him there as long as possible. Roglic will get better. He will definitely. He had a pretty hard touchdown. He's lost a little bit of time, but he's a tough man, and I'm sure. Well, by the end of the weekend, we're going to see how busted he is and how much. If he can get through this first weekend of racing without losing any more time, he will definitely be stronger, you would think, than Vingegaard in the back end of this race. But they will try to keep the young Dane on GC and give himself options as long as possible, for sure.
Phil, anything you want to ask Whitey with zero notice?
Not at all, really, except your blueberries, your blackberry rather, is heating up. You keep on not moving, but we do hear you.
Will you pace today, Matt? Given that you've got, Matthews can win in the finish, but Van der Poel's probably favoured over, Matthews, and then you'd be worried about Alaphilippe attacking on the Cat 2. Will you guys ride passive, I guess, in the flat 100Ks beforehand to keep numbers and say, hey, Ineos, you want something from the stage, you do something, you got numbers, or Quick Step or Alps, and you control it?
We'll certainly be making sure that a few of the teams that you just mentioned certainly aren't in the break of the day. So I expect there's going to be a lot of movement from the start here, and I wouldn't be surprised, if the break takes nearly 100 kilometres to go. I would not be surprised, because a lot of teams will see the opportunity of, if a big enough group goes, if it's a strong group, it is going to be very hard to bring back. So the first objective for us, it's always the first phase of the race. We really stress that with the guys that, once you set up that first phase of the race, it certainly changes the dynamic after that. And if I think it's going to go two ways. It will be selective. Now it could be that selective that it even puts Michael in trouble, which then gives guys like Simon Yates and Esteban a chance at the stage win, because also they're not a threat on general classification. Or it might be a bigger group, and the pace of that category 2, for example, has certainly got rid of Mark Cavendish, maybe Colabrelli, and a couple of other guys who similar to Michael. So ideally, we would like a 20 to 30 up sprint, and Michael in there, and not too many other fast guys.
Oh, the blackberry's gone. It was just a matter of time, folks. At least he's got his sentence in there.
I think he finished his point, yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect timing. Hey, Phil, you've got to get on live, mate. So before we go, we've got to mention the foundation, the fantastic Careca Foundation. Now, my old man Emu, he donated $100 overnight because he felt bad for throwing Iffy under the bus with that Harry Sweeney question. So anyway, the website, as we say, is kariega.coza/Peloton. And make sure that you get on there and donate. It's a great cause. And we've seen Tandy, the rhino there that was saved and now's had a number of offspring. And we're going to have Lindy, the representative, on Tuesday, I think, is it?
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's a fantastic cause, and get behind it, because we really appreciate you being on the show, and we really respect everything that you do for conservation over in South Africa, mate. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you. The idea to bring Lindy on was, of course, from that lady who gave us the note yesterday on screen here, suggesting she'd like to hear more from her. So as soon as I came off air yesterday, I sent her a WhatsApp, and she came back excited. You wouldn't believe. She said, yeah, and I can go to this place and go to that place, and I can show you the view. And I said, Lindy, we're going to do it Tuesday morning, because it's the day after the rest day as we restart the tour. And she's going to be on Careca because she also lives in Cape Town, which is about 800 kilometres away from Careca. So she's going out to Careca to make sure she's in the right place to talk about the animals. Yeah.
Now, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? I thought it was Wednesday.
No, it's Tuesday. No, it's the day after the rest day.
Tuesday. Yep.
Okay,
Tuesday,
all
good.
Right. Perfect. And that was Cheryl who suggested it. And her dad, Reg, God rest his soul, Reg Mariner, was one of the legends of Australian cycling. Oh, look who's back.
All right, well, we'll let you go, Phil.
I'm going to have to go. Matty,
we'll
the best of luck today. And have a good ride, mate. And nice to meet you, Patrick. I'm sure we'll meet again.
Nice to meet you too.
I'll probably the last time I'll see Johnny tomorrow on the show, actually. Kind of thing.
Have a good call. Have a good call.
Ciao, bye-bye.
Sorry, mate. Hey, Whitey, we got you back. The BlackBerry, obviously, you've got the aircon pumping now, mate. It's all good. But you made your point before.
I've got a freezing cold drink on the back of it. That's what, and with the AC on, mate.
Just get a bloody iPhone, mate. Just give up. Get an iPhone,
mate. I used.
As he goes to make his point, his photo freezes. I don't think you could have timed it any better. He's got to say how good the BlackBerry was, and she's blown up. And that's all she wrote. It looks like. Oh no, hang on, you're back.
Now it's the internet. Now it's the French internet that dropped out.
You just as you were trying to defend the BlackBerry, you froze. It was the funniest. Loved it.
Matt, will you make sure Simon and Esteban lose enough? Like they're on 3 minutes now, going into stages 8 and 9. Big opportunities for them there. Will you want them to lose more than 3 minutes so that they actually get that license to get in a big mountain break?
Yeah, definitely. I think Simon's not here for general classification at all. So he's been checking out. Simon's a bit further back than 3 minutes anyway, mate. I think Lucas is at 4 and Simon's well behind him. So he's not too much of a threat. So we'll probably have a try tomorrow because I think Simon will probably be able to go with some of the best guys even tomorrow's stage. And then if it's not working or if he's not on a one, he'll just park it and then look for opportunities later in the first mountain block or definitely in the Pyrenees.
And how's the region you're in now, Whitey? What's the food like? What's the ambience?
I actually don't really know where I am at the moment. We've had such a big transfers from yesterday's stage to the start after the stage this morning. I know we are definitely going east towards the mountains. Very flat terrain at the moment, and in general, I will have to say the food has been quite good even for the staff. I know Nicky's cooking is always good, but the food for the staff has been quite good. We were in a nice little chateau last night.
Nice.
Small rooms, but it was nice. But summer's here, which is good, and the guys are happy. It's the first time in a very long time in our presentation this morning that there is 100% chance of no rain today. Every day has been a chance of rain pretty much for the last 3 months. And the guys will certainly appreciate. They'll be complaining within 3 or 4 days about the hot conditions, I reckon. But today will be nice, 25 degrees maximum. But I'm sure we're going to get hotter conditions when we get down the south of France. It's already been well over 30 down there for a week. So you're good.
Do they still have the Tour de France village, or has COVID sort of shut that?
Mate, there was no village last year, but you would be surprised. This is 100% normal Tour de France. There is
back.
The village is back. Village back. The crowds are as big as I've seen for 5 years, and the only difference is in certain areas, like where I'm sitting at the start, there are people. It's obligatory to wear masks. But out on the road, it is no longer law in France to wear masks outside. Same with Spain. That ticked over, I think, last weekend. But yeah, the crowds have been huge, as big as I've seen for a long, long time. And I think that's because people over here have just been so restricted with what they've been able to watch sporting wise. That it's, as we know, it's a traveling circus, and I don't think there's obviously the same international fans so far. We'll see when we get down to the Pyrenees and Alps. But the French fans and the French public are certainly out and about and supporting the race.
Amazing.
Out
Absolutely
and about with their cardboard signs. It's fantastic.
Well, you saw the wash up there, Jonesy. That lady got a $15,000 fine.
15 grand.
15 grand fine. Will be going to court and could face up to 1 year in jail. Probably won't. And
Wow.
Mark Soler is thinking about civil action, like suing her.
Jeez. Well, there you go.
So
will he be suing his own team at the same time?
Yeah.
For putting him back.
He's got two broken elbows. He's got 2 broken elbows, and Mel, I think that it sounds like 1 year in jail is very harsh for just being an idiot. But they need to make an example out of these people, because at the end of the day, we want fans at our races, not people who want their 10 seconds of fame in front of a television camera. And there's a big difference. Now, we want fans. It's a special sport. No other sport can people get so close to the athletes, but also we don't need people who are going to endanger our athletes. You know, all the teams invest a hell of a lot of money and resources into preparing these guys for this race, and to have them get ruined by some idiot who wants to send a message to their grandmother and grandpa, we don't need that. And
this could spell.
You can't restrict the crowds on every climb, on every 3,500 kilometers. But common sense and a bit of respect is all that's needed.
Mate, this could spell the death of Borat at the tour. Might scare him off.
Hey, mate, no one is being offended by a man wearing a mankini. As long as I'm not eating my lunch, I don't mind it. And as long as they're not getting in the way of the boys.
Yeah, Borat behind the barriers is fine.
Borat behind the barriers is also fine.
All right. Well,
Matt, will you try and put? Oh, sorry.
No, you're right, mate. Go for it.
Will you try and put Cavendish under OTL pressure? Say on stage 8, it starts with that climb. Matthews, say Cav's out of the equation, and Matthews is only 3 points behind Phillipson. I mean, you guys got the team to do it. Is that something you're thinking about?
Not this early, no. I think the priority for us is to get points when we can. Look, Cav has certainly got his mojo back on the sprinting front, but he hasn't been preparing for the Tour de France, so it'd be really interesting to see how he climbs. And what's also going to affect that is Alaphilippe really riding for GC, or is he going to take over and go after the green jersey? So either way, we're going to have our hands full with Quickstep, but putting the pressure on to keep a sprinter out of outside the time limit is certainly not our priority at the moment.
Good stuff, mate. This has been great having Patrick on, because I can ask about villages and food and Borats, whereas he's got general cycling insights to really take the show to that next level. It's refreshing.
Should have him on regularly, mate. You should have him on regularly.
Oh, mate.
I don't
Always
do anything
at
before
the table.
2 p.m. It's a different world being able to watch cycling in Europe. Who would have thought, compared to in Australia at night time?
Mate, even the switchboard is lighting up. He might be a mate of yours. Benji Nason says, this Lanterne guy knows what he's talking about. What a sexy man.
He's my podcast co-host. He found the link to the live stream, and okay. Ignore anything he's saying.
Well, there you go. Anything you want to add before we let Whitey go, Iffy?
I just wanted to talk about Harry Sweeney and let all that knowledge of that out, but we'll talk about that later.
No, that's a quick one. Just before we go, what insights can you give on Harry Sweeney, Whitey? Because my old man felt that we didn't give enough info yesterday.
Yeah, mate. So he was on our development team a couple of years back before we wound it down. And then he's had an interesting journey there to get back into the World Tour. Did a couple of years on some smaller teams, and he's found his way back on the Lotto. He actually had COVID, I think, in March when he was up for the Classics, and spent a few weeks in a hotel up in Belgium. Bounced out of it well, and he's had a pretty restricted race program, but obviously with the late exclusion of Tim Wellens, they've taken one more guy to support Caleb in chasing breaks. He's a strong lad, and full respect for not throwing the towel in the last couple of years. It's not easy battling through those Conti teams to get back into the World Tour, and I'm sure he'll make the most of it.
Oh, fantastic. I reckon that'll give a big thumbs up from the Emu, mate. You've
There you go,
given
Evie.
some good insight. Yep.
Yeah, good kid. Really nice young lad. Really nice young lad.
Good. All right, mate. Well, thanks for joining the show today. It's a long stage. How many Red Bulls have you got lined up, ready to go?
Oh, no, I haven't had one yet, but I've got a couple always in reserve, mate. A couple always in reserve.
All right, mate. We'll enjoy today, and we'll check in again tomorrow. Appreciate you coming on the show again.
All right,
Thanks,
gents.
Whitey.
Nice to talk to all three of you.
Good on you, Whitey. Take it easy.
See you, mate.
Team Bike Exchange head DS, Matt White. Now, Patrick, we've got a few questions from the viewers, so we'd like you to stick around and we'll fire a few of those in. Before we do, we've got to go to a quick ad break, and as we always say, Iffy, don't forget, best viewer question for the week. We've got 3 to give away, $500 Let's Go Motorhome voucher. We come out to the weekend, so we might need to announce a winner on Sunday, I'd reckon. And that's, of course, due to our great mates at Let's Go Motorhomes. And as we always say, you wouldn't believe they're all JCOs. What are the odds of that?
They are all JK. So Let's Go. Not only are they sponsoring that, so there's 3 for the 3 weeks. Each week of the tour, best question for each week will get a $500 Let's Go voucher. And they're also supplying a $500 Let's Go voucher to whoever donates the most to the Kareka Foundation.
That's right. So now it's a quick word from our great mates at Let's Go Motorhomes and Bike Exchange.
We all love an open road, and often they're easier to find during quieter times of the year. In a Let's Go motorhome or camper van, you can road trip in comfort and style any time of the year. When the roads are quiet, you can get where you want quicker and easier without jostling for position. Chances are your destination won't be as busy too, which means you'll enjoy your travelling adventure even more. Plus, if you book a Let's Go motorhome or camper van in the off-season, you pay less, meaning you can travel longer. There's a type of motorhome or camper van for everyone, so you won't have to compromise on what you want. The whole range has the things you need to help create the perfect road trip experience, including heating and cooling, keeping you comfortable on the road all the time. Whether there's 2 or 6 of you, there's a motorhome for everyone. And in a Let's Go motorhome, your journey can be just as fun as the destination you want to reach. The open road is calling. Check out some of our great offers online today and start planning your next road trip. Rain, hail, or shine.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike. 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match, but not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to our great mates at Bike Exchange and Let's Go Motorhomes. I'll just run through a few more viewer comments. Matthew Bordigon, I've butchered that. He says, Cav's success gives hope that Froome can make a comeback too. I think it's a bit different circumstances given that Froome's, he's probably, I mean, the injury's still riding on, but just to come back from the scale of his injury, I mean, that's going to take an even bigger task, wouldn't it, Patrick?
Well, I mean, he's been racing. I mean, he keeps mentioning the crash, and I know it was a bad crash, but he's been racing since January 2020 or February 2020 at UAE Tour, and he was good in, I thought, like pretty good in the Vuelta 2020 for Ineos. Like he was better than Sosa and Brandon Rivera. He tried to set things up for Carapaz sometimes, and he was riding on the front with Worth on some of the stages. And I think the question that is, don't know the answer to, and there's no real explanation for, is why he's dropped off from Vuelta 2020 post-crash to this year. Like Tour de Land last year came out of COVID lockdown. He there was a stage where he like pulled like over 400 watts for 20 minutes, putting people in the red. He's at the front of Ineos, and you see Jumbo-Visma behind him. And so, yeah, that's, I guess I'm confused as to why the big drop off from that level. So it's not looking good for a comeback. Certainly not. I don't expect him to be contesting GC next year. I mean, Sylvain Adams says he's their man for GC next year at the Tour. I think that's borderline delusional at this point.
Tony, John, come on, mate. If you don't agree, let's go. Come on.
I'm looking forward to the Vuelta this year. I'm going to hold back until then. If he gets his act together and can look seriously having a go at some stages in the Vuelta, and I mean, it was almost gut wrenching to watch him in the Dauphiné. The minute the pressure would go on, him going out the back, I thought, oh, bloody hell, it was just terrible to watch. I'm just hoping that the Vuelta it all changes. Maybe I'm just wishing and hoping.
You're a very positive person, John, and that's okay. But we do need a point of difference, and that's where Patrick comes in. Fantastic. Tony says, hi, guys. Hey, Patrick, when did you first start analysing the pro peloton? Did you race at club level, and when? How did it all come about, the podcast? Because it's hugely successful. I mean, I think you've got 114,000 subscribers on YouTube. And as we said at the top of the show, I don't know if we're going to be able to boost your numbers too much. So just get on YouTube and search the Lanterne Rouge and you'll get all the videos. But how did it all happen?
I guess Cadell got me into cycling, like probably a lot of Australians. So Cadell got me, his Tour de France win got me into it. I was younger, pretty young. I don't come from a cycling family. I was a big cricket guy. I played a lot of cricket at a better level than I ever cycled. And I guess it's kind of like Wiggins with the Tour in Britain. So, yeah, Cadell sparked the interest, and then I've just probably spent 4 years falling asleep during the middle of sprint stages. Phil was on earlier, like the amount of times at 1 a.m. I'd be listening to him sort of with one eye open. And then I got into it more seriously probably 2015, 16. And then at the end of my sort of when I was at uni, and then when I started working, it was the main sport I followed. And then I did the channel as a hobby on the side. It started with sprints, actually. Sometimes I'd see like a Tour of Turkey sprint in the middle of the night, something weird or random happens. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And it's Tour of Turkey, no one's watching. So maybe if you put it on YouTube, add my spin to it, create a narrative with the title to actually, interest people. Like, for example, if you put up on YouTube a video saying Trofeo La Guelia 1993, it will get 0 views. And, even their channel's done that. But if you say Lance Armstrong's first pro win, at 20 years old, you're going to draw more interest. And it's the same race. So I guess I can add a bit of social media knowledge as well about how SEO works.
Hang on, can you just slow down? I'm just taking a few notes, mate, because this is gold. I need to really spice up the title. So you're dead right with one thing, though, Dan. I'll give you that. You are dead right. We're not going to help Patrick's numbers very much at all, but hopefully he can help ours. Well, you wouldn't be insinuating that we've brought Patrick on to bump our numbers up, are you, John?
Not at all. We brought Patrick on because he, it makes sense, and I can see him replacing you as the host. But anyway, that's another story.
Dan's the OG, like Orica Backstage Pass. That was so good back in the day. Like, I loved watching all that, especially as an Australian. And like Dan said, you can't watch every stage from Australia if you have a job or any sort of life commitments. So watching that sort of stuff was fantastic. And I think we see a lot of teams following that model now. Quick Step, they do something similar on YouTube. Ineos occasionally do their kind of behind the scenes unscripted, but it's literally the most scripted thing I've ever seen content on YouTube. And a couple of other teams do it. So yeah, and I guess they can use the race footage a little bit now as well, which helps. But not all of them do it. So still a lot of teams not using that social media angle as well as they could.
Well, Ian Thomas is a big fan of your work, mate. He says, great to see Matt White's respect for Patrick and the Lanterne Rouge podcast. Well deserved. That was good to see because Whitey does like to consume content at night and so forth. But obviously being on the race, you don't have a lot of time. But if he's watching your videos, mate, and, you know, I would suggest that even the great Lance Armstrong and Hincapie are following your stuff because I've noticed the last couple of days, their timing, they usually wait till you've posted a video and go afterwards, and their insights very similar to yours, mate. So I'd be wanting to get some sort of credit from those guys at some point as well.
It's fine. It's different to like linear broadcast in that everyone else doing things on social media is actually better for my channel and my content. People are, oh, they're your competitors. But the way social media and YouTube works, it's unlimited bandwidth. And yes, it's 24 hours in a day. But if GCN Racing put up a great video analysing a topic about Cavendish, people who see that, who might not have found my channel, will then get recommended my content on the side and they can find me through there. So, yeah, it's the more people making cycling content on the same topics is actually better, which people don't really realise about the difference between maybe, you know, TV is different. You've got one channel you can watch at a time and, you know, 1 half-hour slot maybe.
Yep.
So I've got a quick question for you, Patrick, because you explained that, you know, how you recently moved to Andorra. But what made you make the move to go to Europe?
Oh, covering pro cycling in Australia sucks. Like, it's the worst time zone in the world, apart from maybe New Zealand or Hawaii. So apart from Tour Down Under and Herald Sun Tour, which, you know, great races, love them. Sid Berwick got his contract, you know, with ISN because of how well he did at Herald Sun Tour. But after that, you know, I was based, so for a year, last year, for a year, I didn't go to bed before 5:30 in the morning. It's terrible for my health, like really bad for me. And so I'd watch the race finish, then do content afterwards, then go to bed. And so I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then, you know, try explaining to the Australian government during the current COVID situation that you want to leave Australia and you were a lawyer to, you know, run a YouTube channel in Andorra covering pro cycling. So that, you know, that was difficult in itself. But yeah, finally got here, and it's been so good, and I'm stoked. And I think the content's been better for it to be in Europe, just in the right time zone. And
Andorra, I've been there a couple of times. Cheap alcohol. They've got a couple of little perks.
I don't drink, so it wasn't the alcohol.
That's the secret. That's why you're so sharp. That's why, Johnny, at times you're drinking too much of the sponsor's product, Johnny.
Yeah, well, we're buggered. We're buggered, you and I,
mate. Andorra's got fastest internet in Europe, and when you explain to them, I run a YouTube channel covering pro cycling, they don't look at you like you got two heads, whereas starting a similar business in France really would be very difficult, as well as, you know, tax situation's obviously good.
Yeah.
Oh, well done, mate. No, sensational.
It is. It is. And as we said, get over and check out the content. Now, Vez says, when will Benji join the podcast, even if it is just for his correct pronunciation of riders' names?
So my podcast co-host, I've got two things. Just to explain it, I've got the main YouTube channel, which has the race rights primarily and does the highlight videos, and then the podcast separately. And so Benji's the co-host on my podcast, the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, and he's got his own YouTube channel. He's a pro cycling manager, content creator. That's how I initially found him as well. So he's from Flanders. I've never actually met him in person. I just found him through YouTube.
Oh, really?
He made Pro Cycling Manager gameplay, and I was like, this guy knows. Like, he used to make the databases, so he knows every rider. He knows like all the Conti guys. He knows all.
So he know about Harry Sweeney. We should have him on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He knows more. He knows. Yeah. He knows
Sweeney as well. Yeah.
Yeah. His knowledge of the Belgian classics really good, whereas I'm better at the stage races.
Well, speaking of knowledge of races, obviously we've got the Giro Donne getting underway, and it's obviously the biggest women's race for the year. It's equivalent to their Tour de France. There's a couple of big names to be looking out for, and obviously Bike Exchange, Team Bike Exchange, they've got a pretty solid lineup there, and of course Sarah Roy, the national champ, who's been in pretty good form, and Amanda Spratt, who finished third at the Giro in 2019 and unfortunately crashed out last year with Annemiek van Vleuten. Now, John, I'm keen to get your insights on the race, mate. Who are a couple of the big names you think we should be looking for? Just one to throw out there. Like, do you think Van Vleuten's a chance of taking the overall?
I think that Grace Brown is going to really give it a shake, and Spratty, who's always been on the podium twice before in this race. But you're writing wrong on one thing. It's actually been downgraded. It's not even a World Tour race this year because they did the wrong thing last year and didn't have any television coverage. This year they've got a bit of coverage, but it still hasn't been reinstated as in the World Tour. But all the teams are here. It's fantastic. So stage 1 today is a team time trial, 26.7K. And then it's actually a 10-day tour. So it is easily the longest and hardest of the women's tours, but it's just that it's not quite getting the points. But gee, all the riders are there. I've got the whole list of the. I
tried to set a bear trap because Van Vleuten's not riding. She's
I know. I was about to get to that. I know.
And if you had gone, yeah, no, she's my tip, I would have gone, gotcha.
I've got the teams all here, mate. Her team's racing, Bobby Star. But I think Spratty will do a really good ride. But, you know, the who's who of world cycling, other than Annemiek, are racing it. So it should be great. But they've got some fantastic days coming up. They've got the last couple, second last day and the third last day have got uphill finales, which will really test out the race. But 10 days.
Well, you're talking about the coverage, how they got in trouble last year. I think they're going live to air for the last 15 Ks of the race, and there's going to be a 1-hour live show. So hopefully that'll build up over time because, we always say that the women's racing's been fantastic. And, you know, they had the course not long ago that got, a bit of coverage as well. And Grace was 5th in that. But the write-up is that it's going to be between Van der Breggen and Vos is back in form as well, Johnny. As you know,
Vos can't win.
Vos can't get over those hills.
Yeah, if Van der Breggen tries, she'll win easily. Okay. Brown can win stages 3, 7, and 10. Perfect for Grace Brown. Grace Brown's so strong this year. Like, sometimes Bike Exchange have ridden for Sprat, and they've sort of had Brown in the break, kind of like I think to happen in the course, and then she's been unbelievable this year. She's top 5 rider in the world now, Grace Brown. But it's interesting. They got TTs. There's a team time trial actually for stage 1. I think John might have already mentioned.
Yeah, team time trial stage 1, and then an individual time trial on stage 4.
So, it's 10 stages. Yeah, it's been downgraded because they couldn't comply with the live coverage requirements last year. They couldn't afford it. I mean, Giro Rosa is it's not run by RCS. It's actually run by kind of a foundation which really struggles to make ends meet. And then next year they're going to have the Women's Tour de France for the first time in a similar time slot. So obviously this will not be at the same time next year. I don't know what's going to happen with the race, whether they're going to have to move it to the similar, around the Giro time, because if they have it at this time next year, none of the stars will go because they'll be going to the Women's Tour de France.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we'll keep tabs on that. And we're going to get Spratty on the show soon as well, Johnny. We'll just line up a time that works for her. Obviously, she's going to be on another pump over the next 10 days, but if we can get her on, we'll get her on. And
she's coming on. And Grace Brown as well. I got a text from Grace yesterday, so she looks forward to coming on as well. So,
all right, fantastic. All right, and we'd love to have you on again, Patrick, anytime that you're available, because you take this show now to the next level with your insights and you make us all look a little bit smarter. Because obviously I've got in off the long run and said, Voss is a chance at the Giro. And you're like, mate, nice try.
Makes us look a bit dumber. Yeah, but anyway, all good.
Well, no, I can't do all the graphic stuff and cutting to – I need to get on this software that you're using because –
StreamYard, all right. No worries. I'll train now. It's easy.
That's what I need to do.
Yeah, no dramas. But no, mate, it's been fantastic having you on the show. And as we said to people before, get on YouTube, do yourself a favour, Lanterne Rouge, if you're not there already. And I'm tipping if you're watching this, you probably already are. Thanks again, Johnny, for your insights. As we always say, if you want to get on board with our show, youtube.com/The Detour Podcast. Tell your mates, like, share, subscribe. We'll be back again tomorrow. I won't be on. Scotty McGrory will be back. And
Yes.
Samuel Bulai, I think
Yes.
he's going to be available tomorrow. So
It'll be
look out
great
for
to do it
that.
with Sam. I just want to say I'm going to be on SBS tonight. I just got a text before. Originally, I was going on at 9. Now I'm going on at 10. I think with a bit of luck, I might get on by midnight.
Well, you might need a couple of espresso martinis or something, mate. You're going to struggle. But all the best with that. Now, thanks again, Patrick. And
No worries. Really enjoyed it.
keep up the great work with your show, mate. It's really taken off and the sky's the limit. You'll be some sort of cycling media mogul in the next 12 months. I can guarantee you that. We'll both be sharpening our resumes.
I am actually hiring soon. Yeah,
All
next
right,
year
perfect.
I got to put out a pitch. Yeah, but anyway.
All right, mate. Well, I'll get you sorted on StreamYard. So
Yeah,
All
I actually
good.
need help with that. Thanks, guys.
no worries. Take it easy. We'll see you again
Yeah.
tomorrow, guys.
Thanks, mate.
Bye.
This is the winning